Good morning, everyone. Again, hopefully everyone's fine. And also like you liked yesterday's session, so we'll try to be quite similar in our activities and our presentations today as well. So, as you know, today's session you've checked out is environment and sustainability, right? So, I'm just going to go over and present the the pressing environmental problems and issues that we currently have, and this is mostly overall the picture in India and globally. And so we'll come down to Meghalaya and the specific issues, but let's see, and I'm sure all of us are very knowledgeable about all of this, but we'll just delve deep into the most core problems that we currently have in terms of environment and how that is linked to and environmental problems are not just environmental problems, they are human problems as well, how they are affecting our health, our ecosystems, and the air that we breathe and the water that we consume, right? So of course it's an ecological maze that we need to explore, as in everything is actually linked. So of course the first one, because it's sort of a continuation from yesterday's theme, which is the biodiversity loss. Of course we know how biodiverse and how rich India is overall, and we are losing a lot of this biodiversity. There are a lot of drivers of the loss, but mostly it's because of habitat fragmentation and habitat loss and habitat fragmentation, because again India needs a lot of infrastructural development, a lot of resources still needed to sustain the growing population. As we now know that India is number one in population. We just crossed China, so at least we're number one somewhere. This is something we sort of covered yesterday, but let's again see how the biodiversity hotspots are. In India we share 4 biodiversity hotspots. The green one, as we can see, is the Western Ghats from Dang in Gujarat till Tamil Nadu. It's a long stretch and a very rich biodiverse region, as we all know. Then in the northeastern part, we have the Indo-Burman region, which is that purple one you can see. We also have the Himalayas on the top. And then we have Sunderland, which is the Andaman and Nicobars, right? But yeah, it's actually from the Malaysian and Indonesian part. That's why it's called a Sunderland. So again, because of these 4 regions, we have so much of endemicity, so much of the richness. So, and these 4 biodiversity hotspots actually cover almost 25% of the total Indian geographical area. And these are just numbers where overall in India now, till now, and this is only just the ones that has been documented and recorded. So there are 472 species of amphibians in India, 423 species of mammals, which is astounding. 1,358 species of birds and about 1,300 species of butterflies again. And again, this is the one that we now still have documented and found out. As Professor Nag yesterday told, we are still recording newer species, especially in the northeast, and not only smaller species such as amphibians or plants or herbs, where we are still finding out new species of primates. The Arunachal macaque is a very new discovery to science. So there is an existential threat to biodiversity. The next one, because we're talking about all of the environment, and again, biodiversity is not a separate entity. Everything is connected. So we do have an air pollution crisis. Fortunately, not so much in the northeast, especially in Meghalaya, but we must have all read the news about this is the most severe case is our capital city. Okay, Delhi faces the worst of air pollution, and I think this time of the year is the worst for them. And again, just statistics. This is a simple graph of AQI. This is how air quality is measured. One of the ways how air quality is measured, of course. So you can see the red parts are where the air quality indices are the highest. So those time of the year, and on the x-axis we have the months of the year, and then we have different years, right? So the red ones we know from October, November till about February and March. Those are the worst days for them. And AQI above 400, I think that's somewhere in the world record, because AQI is, ideally should be in single digits, like below 10, but it's touching 400 and almost 500. And what we can see from this graph is they've compared different years and they're going back till 2019. So yeah, as you understand, is the lighter colors mean that air quality is comparatively fine. Yeah, okay. So, and it's getting worse. So 2022, we can all see it's more red, right? And again, 2023, the red part is more every year, right? It's increasing, and that means that not only in the winters, even in the summers, the air quality is very, very, very low. Of course, it has a lot of implications to animal life, to biodiversity, because we are all humans. Let's see how it actually affects humans. And this is a sort of a technical graph, but we'll just see. You can read this out. So the residents of NCT, the national, regions of NCT Delhi, which is the national capital territories, tend to lose over 10 years of their lives, right? So the darker areas, right? So these will lose, say, 0.1 years, about 1-2 months, these ones, because of air pollution. But we can see all this dark, and Delhi is somewhere here. So this one's Delhi. So all of these northern regions, right, especially Delhi, an average adult will lose about 10 years of their life just because of the air that they breathe. Similar is the water scarcity, right? Because of rapid urbanization and the need to cater to the growing Indian population, there is a water scarcity, right? And let's see again some very, very bleak statistics that we find. So it was a research done by World Resources Institute, and they found out that half of India, like 54% of India, faces high to extremely high water stress, right? Another study said 600 million Indians face high to extreme stress over water. And I remember like these pictures whenever I saw when I was growing up, these were all from Africa, right? Most of these pictures, but unfortunately this is present day India. So the other caveat to that is we have a water stress, like most regions in central India especially, they don't really have water, right? The other caveat is that whatever water we have is highly polluted. So there's like a double-edged sword that we have. And again, as we see, medium to high, it's just data that's given to other states, where we especially see the Northeast is still fairly low in water stress. I think this is the last one, which is the waste management dilemma, an exercise that we did yesterday as well. Wetlands and rivers, a lot of them have been used as, waste management systems. Just throw away the waste. And India grapples with a waste management dilemma. How do we manage? Because more human population means more human, products and services, and then a more waste that ends up in more waste, and then we are filling our lands with this. Again, just a snippet. This is a striking study which was done in 2000. I mean, this was published in 2019, but again, this shows how waste management is a dilemma, as in how complex the waste management issue is, right? And this is just solid waste, right? And waste, we have a lot of types of them, and this says that waste and then the municipal waste, because this is all recorded by the municipal corporations. How does municipal waste, solid waste break down? They break down into air pollutants, right? Again, they break down into biological pollutants, so the viruses and the bacteria. They also break down and seep into our soil and our water, right? So just one type of waste, but it breaks down into so many types, so many other subtypes of waste. And again, as I said, environmental impacts are always linked to health impacts, human health impacts. So skin diseases, jaundice, malaria. We all know the repercussions of the waste disposal and waste management, right? The other part of the waste again is plastic waste. We all know that. I won't go much in detail, much deep down, but yeah, it's the plastic waste is another form of the waste. So hopefully, ideally, it's again similar, because we are a smaller state. We don't really generate that much of plastic waste. So the bigger states, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat. So these are the states which contribute to the larger waste management problem, plastic management problem. The other part is, again, this is BMW, which is biomedical waste. It's not the car. It's a biomedical waste. So again, because we were hit by the worst pandemic ever, and hopefully the last one for this generation, just because of the pandemic, this is the biomedical waste only related to COVID-19 and not other diseases or not other health problems. Again, we see because the north and southwest of India were severely hit, the states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, they produce the most BMWs, the most medical waste, and that's tons per day. So about 10 tons per day, which is too much. Of course, these are all the rising challenges, and they could be multifold. You can also chip in and say if I missed something, but overall, these are the grand environmental issues that we are now fighting, right? But we also have to delve down and see how and what we can do in terms of, mitigating these things, right? So we do have a rising renewable energy revolution, if we can see. We do see a lot of fossil fuel industries now trying to limit their, fossil consumption. We see a lot of electric cars right now. So we're trying to move away from, non-renewable resources to a renewable resource, so that at least we can, mitigate some sort of these climate impacts that we are having. We also have solar and wind and hydropower, right? What also we can do is, this is again from the food that we need because of the waste management, because so much of what we do is, gone to waste. But if we use concepts like and technologies like sustainable agriculture, the organic farming, it provides us food, as well as there's fewer waste, there's low waste that we can do. Again, talking about waste, there are innovative waste management systems. India is trying to cope up, especially the modern cities, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. They all have some kind of these innovative waste management systems, which they are trying to actually reduce it, minimize it some way, or mitigate it some way, and adopting the circular economy. This is a fancy term, but it also means it's like a life cycle, right? So from source till its end, if we can mitigate something, say for example plastic, so if we can return that specific product or that specific element back to our environment, back to the source, then it's called like a circular economy. So we net have zero impacts on our environment, on our water and our air. Of course, we're losing a lot of biodiversity, and protecting biodiversity is one of the core solutions that we have right now. Yeah, green transportation initiatives. I just mentioned about the different fossil fuel companies which are trying to, build the green transport initiatives. But we are still lacking the whole infrastructure, right? India is trying to do a lot, but yeah, what this says is investing in public transit infrastructure, public transport systems. The core issue that I find right now, and as part of the organization I am working for, and the other corporates that are involved in our circle, we do have a lot of these transportation initiatives, right? But they are all very, very private based. So we are producing a lot of hydropower vehicles, producing a lot of electric vehicles, but those are all those are private entities. So I own a car, right, which is electric, or you own a car which is electric, or she owns a car which is electric. But until and unless we can get it to our public transport system, that is not going to make a huge difference, right? Also, the infrastructure is not complete. For example, if I have an SUV and then I have to charge it every time, there are not enough charging stations in our petrol pumps or whenever. I have to limit myself within that kilometers, within the, I mean, those cars come with, like, it'll run for about 500 or 200, 300 kilometers with full charge. So we have to, it's not freeing from a personal side. Also, it's not impacting environment that much. But if we can actually incorporate this into our public transport, our rail systems and our buses, actually, a lot of the cities have come up with electric buses. Pune, I was recently there. Bangalore has its fair bit of electric buses, but they are still in the nascent stage. So we will need a lot of investment. Of course, these are not very cheap, not very pocket friendly initiatives. The government and the public private sectors have to actually come in and do their part to actually make this feasible. Of course, as our core theme yesterday was empowering communities. So that's how I see the environmental problems, right? And the environmental issues and how we can solve them. The two ways or the two key themes that we should look into, one is nature-based solutions whenever we have problems, or whenever which of the environmental problems that we have. So having a solid waste management system that could be nature-based, and I hope everyone's heard of nature-based solutions, NBS now we call them. So it's any solution that mimics nature, right? So nature has its own way of, say, decomposting, right? Nature has its own way of returning the products back to its source, right? Anything that we can mimic nature or do it something based on nature. So that is one solution. The other solution is technology based, which something like the green infrastructure that we're talking about. And if we try to combine the power of both the technological advancements that we have and the nature-based solutions, hopefully there's a hope for humanity, right? And one of these is empowering communities and the indigenous tribes in conservation efforts, of course. And indigenous tribes are also empowering them in terms of their livelihood, their upliftment, and also bringing them the technologies, the cheaper technologies that we have, if they can use it, right? So yeah, again, because it's a holistic approach, we cannot just depend on NGOs and depend on communities saying, oh, they'll protect it. We do need a very, very strong policy and governance for it, right? So one of the sessions that we did yesterday was the green laws, the forest and biodiversity laws. There are a lot of environmental laws. We all have heard about NGT, the National Green Tribunal. We There's a lot of laws there, but when those laws remain policies, remain in paper, and they are not implemented or actually governed, then there's no real impact. And you, all of you, coming from different sections of the departments, so you have the onus upon, like, whatever policy there is, you would try to implement those, right, and govern the system, as in whatever laws there are. And it's very difficult to convince everyone and draft out a policy. We saw an example yesterday. Only within us, like 10 people, it was very difficult to come to a consensus. Can you imagine how difficult it is for the parliament, right? So yeah, people from different political parties coming in, so it's very, very difficult to draft it. And it's very difficult to actually implement it and govern and get those policies implemented. Again, as I said, two key solutions that we have are the nature-based solutions and the innovative technologies, right? The innovative technologies are coming up. I do see a lot of entrepreneurship that's coming up. We now call them ecopreneurs. There are a lot of people in Meghalaya state as well who are trying to use some of the technologies and then mix them up with nature-based solutions, right? So these are sustainable engineering techniques. So a lot of hydropower, a lot of the windmills. So I believe is USTM fully solar powered? Not yet.
No,
Partially. So yeah, even our universities are doing it. I think Guwahati University is almost partially, not almost, but yeah, partially. Most of the power generation actually comes from the solar panels. And in India, it's a good thing that we've mastered the art of solar power right now, but not so much of hydropower. We have hydropower mills, which actually take energy from the water and the air that's there. But solar power, because we are blessed with so much of sunlight, these are some of the solutions. We can brainstorm about this. Again, an important part where education and awareness, as I said, if we don't, and hopefully this is what these workshops are actually going one step ahead and talking about things. Of course, because of technology, we are all very aware of what's happening in the world and how it's happening. But when we come together and brainstorm about things, that's when something creative happens, something realistic happens. So that education and awareness, environmental education, vital for promoting a culture of sustainability. The problem also with sustainability or things like that is we find a lot of, I won't call fake initiatives, but they are trying to mimic something, but behind that they are not really concerned about the environment. They're just, as in for fossil industries, right? The fossil companies, they're trying to tell us that they are trying to go green, but we know if they still keep using the fossil fuels, will run up dry, and then there'll be nothing to run our cars or homes. Yeah, so we have a term called greenwashing. Has anyone heard of greenwashing? No? Can you guess what could be greenwashing? Sorry? Green roofs. Yeah, not so much, but yeah, green roofs is one of the technologies that they are using. Yeah, greenwashing is a term used when companies fake out their sustainable initiatives. So it's called greenwashing, like whitewashing. It's called greenwashing. They say they'll go green, but behind that it's just a normal. They say they'll examples like they'll share a bit of their returns for CSR activities, but then they don't really do it. Or if they do, then that project is not sustainable. You must also be aware about the carbon credits that we have, right? So now the fossil fuel companies and the highest carbon emitting countries, say the most developed countries, US and China, they now have an option to buy and trade carbon, right? Because they are producing so much of carbon, they can now sort of that. So the carbon market is as a different entity. It's like the stock market. So they buy and sell carbons. So simply speaking, I say that my company produces like 1 million tons of carbon annually. So I'll invest in a project in Africa, which will reduce it, or not reduce it, but mitigate it, right? And then that's the greenwashing, where if you go to Africa and see that project, it's not doing what it was meant to do, right? Or they are not, maybe that started, but it's not, completed. It's not running that they do. So yeah, the education and awareness about sustainability is very important, because there are so many things coming up, right? But so we have to be in touch with everything that's newly coming up, and one of the ways is investing in research, right? Of course, not just research about species or habitats. That's very, very important in terms of species discovery or ecological management. But it's also very important to invest in research in green energies, in clean energies, in sustainable agriculture, and a different environmental, as ma'am said, green roofs. I think from the landscape perspective, landscape architects now try to design green roofs, right? Especially in cities where they don't really have green roofs. Again, fortunately enough, the northeastern part is still very rich, and so we don't really care. But it is a very important issue for upcoming cities, say Hyderabad or Bangalore and Pune and Mumbai, where they do use a lot of green roofs, green buildings and green roofs. And you must have seen the airports in, what was that airport? Singapore, Changi Airport. So within that airport, if anybody's seen the Singapore airport, within the airport they have a waterfall. I'll try to find an image. I don't have it here. So yeah, investment in research is important, and how we get that investment is a matter of a push, right? And those could be government initiatives, those could be CSR, right? And as I said about the carbon credits, right? Now we also have something. It's still in the West. It's still in UK and Europe. Now something called the biodiversity credits market has come up, right? It's similar like carbon market. So if you destroy, not destroy, say harm, I'm building a house, and then there's a metric that we are calculating. So it's called a biodiversity metric. If I come up with, say, 5 metric, 5 parts, I'm destroying this habitat to create my home or my garage, I can actually buy other credits. Buying as in giving money to some other company or some other farmer, so that he can use that money, and say, so the net the biodiversity still remains, right? Similar to carbon markets. So net we are all aware of carbon zero or carbon neutral, but they are all very different terms. So carbon zero is something that we should be aiming for. Carbon neutral is just something, okay, US will still be polluting the environment and the air. So poorer countries, not poorer as in culture-wise, but economically poorer countries, say Africa or even Asia, countries like Malaysia and even India. So, and these countries will keep, generating those credits. We'll try to reduce, and they'll still buy, and they'll just give us money to have projects like this. While that is important, it's the infrastructure about that carbon credits or biodiversity credits is important, and that's why they've come up with it. So in order to make it effective, there has to be a monitoring protocol. They have to see how impactful it is, of course. And again, because we are again and again, I'm talking about how holistic approach is needed. So we do need public and private partnerships. And public and private partnerships are, I'd also talk about, say, the government and private partnerships. The government can't just keep rolling out policies saying, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Until and unless we get the private partners in, it's very, very difficult to do that, because this is the private partners are the ones who actually, I won't say they make the government's the government's dream a reality, saying the government, a lot of the projects are given to the private companies, saying build that house or build that infrastructure. So if they don't go in conjunction, if they don't go in synchronous way, then it's very difficult to get a hold of a balanced and sustainable future. Again, a similar thing, youth empowerment. India again is blessed to have the record says the youngest nation right now, which means that most people are aged 18 to 40. Right? Currently, India has the most young population. But this is something also to be worried about, because in 20, 30 years of time, all of this young population will become an older population, and that's the problem China is facing right now. Right? So China had, like 30 years ago, they were the most young nation, and they saw so many developments. We keep seeing China is everywhere. They've overtaken even the US in so many things. But right now they are struggling. That over half of their population is very, very old, and this is just a natural cycle, because people who are young will get old, right? And because India and China also have the constraints of the population, there are population measures, so they can't have many children to offset the ages, right? So they had China. I think that now they've removed that one child policy. But yeah, again, we need not only national and state level collaboration, we would need international collaborations, and that's how everything is linked. So yeah, we should be aware of the international treaties, and as I mentioned yesterday, the international treaties take their own role, own shape, and then become national policies, right? And then national policies do become state level policies. And so when we are at the international stage, we know where we are going. And given the current times where we live in, technology has sort of globalized everything, right? So we do need a lot of international collaboration to the fight against environmental degradation. Finally, we'll have it very detailed in the next session, and all of you must have heard about the SDGs, right? We had it from, I think, 2010, 15 till 2030. Yeah. So these are ending till 2030. We do have about 6 years of sustainable development goals. After that, there has been I think it's called a post 2030 biodiversity framework, but UN SDG goals are one of the ways how the international community is trying to get different states, to get different countries together and have like a holistic approach to different sustainable development goals, right? Yeah, and the sustainable development goals, it talks about a lot of changes, and that's what we have to do. And this is a personal anecdote where this is also a personal change in the ways we live, in the ways we treat our environment, in the ways, all of our actions has some repercussions, right? Boils down to Newton's third law. And we all have to be empowering changes. Firstly, we'll have to be, accepting the changes, and then also empowering change, also seeing change as a good thing that will take us to hopefully a more sustainable future. And finally, it's, as I said, changing, accepting, and then embracing sustainability, right, for a more greener and healthier future. So humans and nature can still coexist in unison. Yeah, and again, it's very difficult to talk about environment and not talk about economy, because again, as I said, everything's connected. So all of our actions have environmental impacts and have economic impacts. And because economy is also important, sadly, or unfortunately, we've been, as a human race, as a human population. I'm not saying about us in this group, because we all belong to some, belong to forest department, or a more greener job that we are doing. But overall, the human race has always been more centered towards the economic benefits, right? So if we don't have the economic benefits, I'm not going for a greener car, I'm not going for an electric vehicle, right? If there are no economic benefits, I'm not going for a solar roof. So if the solar roof is costlier than what is a general roof, I'm not going to use a solar roof, right? And again, this is not very individually, I mean, I'm not talking about individuals, but it's also the government, it's also the companies, but we all do need the money, right? So, and the famous economist, I forget his name, but it was again very come to the stage, and the quote became very famous because it was talked about by David Attenborough, who said, trying to have, and something in the lines of trying to have infinite economic growth in a finite world, that person is either an economist or mad. So we do have finite resources, and we'll talk about how finite resources, the renewable and the non-renewable resources we have, and we have to be very particular about how we use them, right? And in larger scales, in larger intensities. And that's why empowering communities is one of the key issues, because they know and they have lived in that system for a long time, and they know the problems that are there, and not let the government or the companies get all the economic benefits for a short term, but actually have a longer vision of a sustainable world. And again, the world is still talking about data, statistics, saying we need to see what emissions we are having. We need to see, does my action create an environmental effect? We have all the data. We have, I mean, we now live in a world where we can get data at the click of our fingers, right? We have all the data. We have all the information that, yes, the environment is getting impacted. And so the only answer is call to action. How we act on it will actually show us and tell us how the human race actually survives, right? And this has to be bold actions, not just actions like individualistic actions, but actions from a larger group, from a government, from local partners, from public sector, from the private sector. So we need to act upon almost everything. And of course, we are from different departments, so we have our own niches, we have our own specialties. So whatever jobs we are doing, we try to have a more sustainable approach to it. And I think that comes to an end. Yeah, this is the end. Thank you so much for listening very patiently. I hope that made sense. Of course, again, this is very India specific or very globally an overall picture of what we're doing. Some of the issues or most of the issues are also very relevant to our state of Meghalaya, right? And this brings us to our second event for today, which is, if you can see, is the third one. Yeah, mapping present environmental challenges of Meghalaya, interactive session. How much time do we have? 11:45. Yeah, any questions or comments on what we spoke? Yes.
So, in the environmental arena, it's all about good governance, right? Like the first world countries, they throw their dump to the third world countries.
Yes.
Maximum dumping of the waste. Now also the Apple products and everything. the bull chemicals that comes out,
Mm.
and also dumping of all their solid liquid chemical waste.
Mhm.
It's all been done here
Yeah.
in the third world countries because they get a lot of they get a lot of economic benefits out of it. So
Yeah.
a first world country will always be like we are preserving, we are up to the mark. For the third world countries, they are in another strata,
Yeah.
over polluted. You go to all the Indian states, totally polluted.
Yeah.
So there's a total difference.
There is a difference. Yeah.
Until and unless a parity is being brought,
Yeah.
where all the states from the first world countries to the third world countries, all of them come to one parity, then there can be an environmental development.
Yeah.
Do you think on those lines SDG goals will be beneficial for the people, for the third world countries?
It is a good point, yes, and that's what also they're talking about climate justice or environmental justice that you said. So I was talking about carbon credits, which US or the rich countries actually do all the emissions and do all the work, and then they dump it on the third world countries, right? There is an action, or there is some sort of call to this now. There's more talk from, as you said, from poorer countries, Africa or Asia, third world countries. They are trying to say that, you know they say like the Africa is, they're doing most of the emissions, but it's not. If you see, all the companies that are doing the emissions in Africa are all US based and stuff. So SDG is one of the framework that tries to bring the international justice to it. I believe so, and we'll have a more detailed session to it. But yeah, not only SDG, but there is UNFCCC, and there are different policies that are coming up which try to talk about climate justice. Yeah, and that's a very important point. Which, yeah, you can't just dump on the third world countries and say we have done with the emissions.
Because all the chemicals and everything are being dumped from the first world countries to third world countries.
Yeah.
And like the third world countries, they want more economy
Yeah,
out of it.
exactly.
That's how they always get the dump, and
We get the dump.
pollutants given from the lot of chemical factories and all.
Yeah,
US always takes the end products.
Yeah.
They don't manufacture.
the mining
They
and
take
stuff.
the end product.
Yeah.
Here also they want to ship the Apple industry to India.
Hmm.
Why? Because India will always generate the waste.
Yeah.
They'll just take the final product.
Yeah, correct. So when they do the statistics, they'll see that India is growing all the waste, right? So that's one of the issues. Yeah.
Bangladesh is known as the shipbreaking industry.
Yeah, shipbreaking.
All the big huge ships that comes to the ports of Bangladesh. They
Yeah.
take all the shit and all the chemicals. A lot of people they die.
True. True.
So,
Yeah, we do have a lot of issues, and one of the problems is, yeah.
actually, we have all these protocols, be it environmental protocols or whatever. You cannot bring it back because the economy of the entire world, if you see, it's based on certain countries. That's why, in order to reduce the loss, in order to coexist and reduce the loss, the third world countries are suffering. Somewhere the SDGs can help, but it's my personal view. But I don't think that a parity can be established, at least for the next 20 years. Exactly. So it's not possible. I know it's not good to talk about this in a public
I
forum,
mean,
but
it's not realistic.
it's not realistic.
Yeah.
At least in the time frame that UN has taken, it is not possible. The whole concept of environmental justice fails. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the third world countries also want to be like a first world country.
Yeah.
The parity will come when you see economy and the environment, when you keep them on the same stage, and if you treat them as the same valued entities, only then the parity can exist. But we do not do that, everybody. Right?
That's what, that parity has to come from the first world, as you mentioned. Otherwise, of course, the third world countries want to become like at least second world or the first world. So even with India or other, growing countries, we want resources. We want not just environment, but we want progress, right? We want more cars, we want more vehicles, and hence why we also create more waste, or more emissions in turn. That's what the balance he also mentioned about, so economy and environment. So that's why concepts about sustainability is so important, as in to have a check on all of our activities, right? And
don't you think it's more theoretical than practical? No, yesterday we did a small activity where we were talking about the wetland. But at the same time, we were trying to boost the local economy with that wetland. What we could have done is completely conserve the wetland, restrict the entry of any people, and that is how environment could have been conserved. Exactly. On the lines of wetland, also if we see the Deeporville wetland, like Guwahati, like the whole
the garbage dump
here, it's just 2-3 kilometers away.
Exactly.
All the chemical water waste all sits into the Deeporville, and it's very spills and seepage, everything is
the spill.
and nowadays the local people, they say you cannot go and fish in Deeporville because it's so polluted. Even the Borlu river water is all connected to Deeporville.
Yes,
so
yes.
That way there's a connection.
Yeah.
So that way, on the whole point of having wetland as a kidney, they are known as kidneys.
Yes.
Obviously.
That's what.
The connection is lost, I guess.
From Borolumo.
Yes.
But yeah, overall, that's the overall issue. Now, for unfortunately, we have let those things happen which you mentioned, which should ideally not have happened. But because it's an economy and we are growing, we all need the waste as well. Waste as in more products, right? So
if you see in Bangalore also, the main bus stand of Bangalore, Majestic, earlier it used to be a wetland, like huge wetland. The whole wetland is removed. It became a bus stand. Like now the metros are also flying.
The metro is also there. Yeah.
So the whole concept of wetland is removed. But now in Guwahati also, the chief minister is trying to create another wetland that was earlier wetland in the VIP area.
Hilhaku. Borsona is Silsako. They're trying to remove a lot of. So again, there if you see another caveat of justice comes in, like how can you remove the people? So now you want to conserve the wetland. So the CM is saying we need to conserve the wetland. That's where exactly. So that is the dilemma like most third world countries are facing. That is it, right? Yeah, we're breaking for tea. Okay, cool. We'll just we'll do it later. Okay, so I'll just mention we'll break for tea. Again, our activity today will be mapping out the environmental issues in Meghalaya, right? So we had yesterday's groups. I think today, because we have fewer people, we'll have just 2 groups. 3 groups. Oh, yeah, they're also there. So we'll have 3 groups, and then we'll brainstorm and see the problems, and also if we can find some solutions, right? Okay, let's break. So this is called a game of for the common good, right? I won't set out the rules clearly right now, but we'll have a small pickup of things, right? So this is the rule where we have some chocolates over here, okay? And I'll put them out here, and everyone can take the chocolates as you want, okay? And I'll play a tune. Whenever that tune ends, you have to stop collecting, right? And if those chocolates are done, then the game's over. Whenever those chocolates are, like all of you have those chocolates and there's no chocolate on the table, then the game's done. Okay? Is that fine? It's very simple. And then we'll talk about how and what is the game, right? So first we'll have like a half of the chocolates out, and then so for example, if when I put out like 10 chocolates, if 5 are remaining, then I will double that for the next round, okay? And it has to stop when the music stops playing, okay? Cool. Any questions, or we can start? Let's start. Yes. So, any thoughts on what we did or how we collected? Of course, it has to connect with something that we presented or we talked about before, right? Yes. And so what we did was we were sharing about the resources, right? Can we see how many got, like, who got what? It's nothing to be ashamed of. This is fine. It's fine. It's 2 or 3, most of them. Ma'am got one and she also got one. They took one. It's not they got it. Like, it's a personal choice. Um, yes, that's why the game actually is played with stones, but we got chocolates because we can enjoy them later. So obviously those are tokens of resources, and this is a game about how, you know, renewable and non-renewable resources work. So if, like, we took it when we saw the resources, we took it what we liked it, right? We thought, yeah, chocolates are there, we can take it. But the essential part was there were like a limited number of resources, right? And then in the second half of the game, when 2 were left, I actually put 4, which means that those were renewable resources, saying, okay, the nature can now provide for more than what we have consumed, right? But when it was empty, it's empty. So I cannot double the zeros. A zero is double of 0 is still 0. So this is how, just to understand. Now, if we play the game again, will it be like your choice? Will it be different, or will the approach be the same? The same? Good. Anyone? Same. Yeah. Because we're now talking about chocolates, but if it were important resources, saying, oh, we'll just, when it runs dry, we won't have nothing to eat, then maybe I'll just take half the chocolate and then consume it tomorrow. Hopefully I don't die, but if I die, then that's fine. Okay. Yeah, that was the game, and that's how renewable resources works. That's just an exercise of how we should be thinking about. So generally what happens is, anyone who thinks he would have selected, or he or she would have selected differently if the rules were set out before? If you knew that that's the game, differently, right? Okay. So you said 1, 2. Anyone different? 2, 3. She's different. Not anyone? So her approach was sustainable. Yeah, she knew we just had tea, so I don't need a chocolate right now. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was just a short game, and we can assemble back. Thank you. Okay. So we have about 45 minutes, and if anyone remembers, it's just mapping out or listing out the problems, the environmental problems, different environmental problems, not just forest or biodiversity, but all of the things that we talked about. You can just list whatever you have seen, and that has to be specific to Meghalaya. So you are the perfect people to just write down everything, and then also possibly have solution, like one solution each, so that we can discuss. And that solution does not need to be realistic. That can be futuristic. That can be something very, very bold, right? Yeah, that's the exercise.
Can be your innovation as well.
Yeah, be innovative, be creative. Anything that you've seen, heard, or anything that you can think about it yourselves about that specific problem. So we can discuss this, and hopefully we'll come out with something good. Sorry. Yeah. The brief? Yeah. So just, we talked about a lot of the environmental issues globally and India. You have to write down or map out anything, list out the environmental problems that Meghalaya is facing. It has to come from your experience, what you've seen over the years, and also 1 or 2 solutions, whatever you think should be there. If it's in place, you can mention that as well, how Meghalaya is dealing with that specific problem. If there is, like, say, plastic pollution, yeah. So if you know about something the government is doing or some NGOs are doing, so, or something innovative, that's why I said it does not have to be realistic, the solutions. It can be something wild, something very new, Yeah. It has to be specific to our state, right? Let's see what we can talk about solutions to the asana. That's temporary realistic already. We discussed the solution diagram. So it will be realistic in the future. And this is good. Yeah. The solutions.
We'll start with the presentation then. You can present at the last.
At the last.
Okay.
Whoever is complete.
Okay. Can we start with you? Your group?
Okay. Hi everyone. So we've kind of made like a web of sorts where we first decided to list out what are the concerns which affect the state of Meghalaya, and alongside we've also listed some arrows where we've shown that some concerns are interlinked to other concerns, and then we've followed up with the solutions to each of those concerns. So we started out with, say, air pollution. One of the first things we noted out was that there's the increasing traffic in cities in the state of Meghalaya have led to a rise in air pollution. The second thing we noted is that the second concern, so to say, that we noted is that we have inefficient pollution control norms in factories, which have led to an increase in pollution. And what we've then done is that we've listed out some other concerns which are linked to air pollution. For instance, one of the other concerns, major concerns, so to say, which affect the state of Meghalaya is illegal mining. And what's also a big concern is that there's coal, uranium, and limestone mining, which also has a link to air pollution, which we noted earlier. Another thing that we listed out is that illegal mining leads to health concerns for the general public. We've seen villages where there have been instances where there has been a leak, where there's then exploration for uranium mining, and eventually that led to health concerns in the local population, like cancer, deformities, birth deformities. Then another concern we listed out was water pollution, which my teammates mentioned. There's been an increase in dumping of waste near wetlands, and then there's also been an increase in dump of waste near the Wamkra River. And another concern is that there's been an increase in water table degradation in various areas of the state, which is also linked to another concern, which is oil palm plantation, which we are aware has adverse effects on the environment. Another concern about water pollution is that there's been a restriction of natural water flow in the dams, which is linked to another factor here, where we wrote about the increasing concern of the construction of dams and the impact that that can have on the environment and the flora and fauna, as well as the local population. Then, another thing we noticed was that, so for dams, one of the concerns we noted was that there's a lack of efficient environmental impact assessment done before dams are constructed. So we noted that that was a concern. And another thing we noted is soil pollution, where we've seen
It's this use of insecticide and pesticide. It will also leads to water pollution.
Yeah. So as we noted earlier, the use of insecticide and pesticide has a link also to soil pollution and water pollution. And what we then decided to do was we linked out some of the possible suggestions. So in terms of the suggestions for dams, we noted that it's important to improve the quality of environmental impact assessment, which is done prior to the project proposals. And the second is that we have to try and take examples from other Himalayan countries, including Bhutan, where they rely on multiple stage dams, where instead of taking multiple rivers and destroying them and making dams in each of these rivers, we take one river and build dams all along the lower sections of that river. For soil pollution, some of the possible solutions that we listed out were that we could create awareness programs for the use of organic plantations and agriculture, and also possibly the use of subsidies to increase the use of these organic products by farmers. And so, going back to air pollution, some of the possible suggestions that we listed out were that we should try and rely on efficient public transportation network and private carpooling in order to prevent traffic in cities, and an increase in the amount and training of personnel in pollution control boards in order to strengthen the implementation of norms which are currently in force. And for illegal mining, some of the possible suggestions that we listed out were that we have to also, as the same case with dams, is that we have to insist on reliance on robust environmental laws, which would ensure that there is no gray area which would allow for illegal mining. And another thing is that given the health concerns of illegal mining, there should be continuous health monitoring of the local population in order to ensure that there are no health concerns for the population. And for water pollution, which we had listed earlier, some of the solutions that we had suggested were that we should have regular servicing of filtration systems along the river areas. We've noted that in many of these areas, there have been nets which have been installed to prevent garbage flowing, but they are often not serviced. So that has led to garbage going back into these areas. And the most important thing we noted was that in order to reduce the water pollution, we have to go back to the source, which is in the homes of people, and to try and create a public awareness campaign, not only in homes, but also in schools and colleges, so that people realize that they should not dump waste in the water. So yeah, that was what we listed for today.
Thank you so much. In terms of the palm plantation, do we know what is the status? I just want to know because
I think the last status was that I think the state said that they wouldn't go.
there was a stay in there.
Yeah, there was a stay.
Okay, thanks.
Mine is not that fancy like theirs. So, like we just pointed out the problems and the solutions out here. The first problem is the non-treatment of human waste that we see in the rivers nowadays, especially in the Umium also it's been found. A lot of human feces has been just dumped into the river. So that's one of the biggest environmental hazard actually that pollutes the whole water source. Then the plastic waste also we can see, and the chemical waste are just dumped without any treatment. So our solution is we should first do the awareness programs, which is very much important for the people to know. Like people are like unaware about the situations. Then we have to creation of sewage treatment plants, and also at the same point of time we have to penalize the establishments who knows and are flouting the rules. Then second is mining activities and discharge runoff. So government has to take strict measures to check the EC guidelines, and also like ma'am can further elaborate on the green belts. Ma'am, you want to?
Okay. So what we've noticed is that while granting environmental clearance to any project proposals, actually there's a norm, EIA norm, that they have to maintain at least either 15% of the land that has been leased for mining for green belt. But then, as per the data that is available, I think there's only zero. I can say that 0 to 1% only of the success rate of green belt that has been practiced. And the problem here is that the monitoring stations, the monitoring offices, they don't really. It's just in paper. And practically it has not been carried forward. And that's why the success rate of green belt in Meghalaya, in the mining areas, I can honestly say maybe it's just less than 2%. So that has also caused a lot of environmental degradation.
Mining is allowed in green.
Thank you. Then third is the depletion of groundwater. Now we have seen a lot of problem in the Shillong area relating to the water issues. So, but we have found a problem also that there are a lot of permissions been given for deep boring, Now, sir can elaborate more on the boring part, like boring, like how deep people go.
Like so many permissions are given by the environment department for boring of groundwater, and many parts the groundwater at that level has depleted. So again, but according to this environment, up to that level they cannot be. There is a guideline that up to that level they should not give permission. But when this at that level groundwater is depleted, again we have to apply or seek permission to dig more few meters, then again they get permission and they're digging for more deep, and some places that were also finished. So this all has the government has to strictly follow the guidelines. If the government does not follow the guidelines in giving these permissions, then groundwater in the future we see it will totally deplete.
Exactly. So like we have come up with the solution that strict measures needs to be taken to stop the non-allowance of permissions for deep boring. Now next is flouting vehicle emission norms. Out here we can see very age-old cars that's been driven, but present norms are BS6 norms that needs to be followed. So like the policy scraping of like 15 years, which is being followed by Delhi right now, followed strictly by Delhi. So it needs to be brought here so that it can be a relief for the environmental pollution as well. Then traffic issues. So carpooling is our solution, but we can see like in the government has came out with this new policy known as STEMS buses, wherein they're trying to get all the students in one bus. But how successful are they? They are saying ki they're still at a failure, because people they feel like they can take their children in their own car and drop them. So, but that leads to traffic congestion. So focus should be more on the carpooling. Then lastly, dumping grounds. We have seen like the segregation of waste is not done properly out here, like the solid waste and the liquid waste. So more of awareness should be done on these lines, and I think that will help. Thank you.
Just a small query. How much area of Meghalaya is under green belt?
Actually, it depends. Like major minerals, it's 50%. And for minor minerals, it depends on the area that they have applied for for mining. But then the minimum is 7.5 meters. But then they don't even practice that.
Thank you. Next.
So, hello everyone. So we have listed few general understanding of the challenges, and also we have listed few recommendations from our side. The first one is spring shed loss. I think we have lost a lot of. When we were little, we used to have many springs around us and even in our villages. But I think that is we are losing them. So some of the recommendations would be restrict felling of trees, and also shifting cultivation, which is very common in few parts, still very common in few parts of the state. That should be regulated, and an overall understanding, mapping of these spring sheds, and also the loss of spring sheds should be done. And some of the villages, what they do is they have these sawmills. So I think ban on illegal sawmills also should be done. Second is biodiversity loss, especially like the tribes here, like the Khasis. We have a very close connection with nature and wildlife. We used to have these folklores and things like that, but now that connection is slowly fading out. So I think the renewal of connection with wildlife must be encouraged in ground level, and also from the government viewpoint. And awareness programs, educational curriculum should also be included in academics. And also we should try to convert ecology into economic sense, in the sense that when you visit a national park or a sanctuary, at least the tourists have to show that we are interested in this, so that even the government is also like encouraged that it does make economic sense, not just ecological sense. Like, why should we protect nature? Because we are interested in it, and there's also the economy boost. So and after that, the next one is population pressure. I think the main issue in Shillong is that the population is very restricted, and also most of the educational hubs and commercial hubs are very restricted in Shillong itself. So I think spreading out of the settlements, the educational and commercial hubs should be, uniformly spread. And the fourth one is illegal factories and mining activities. I mean, recently we saw the coke factories, so there should be complete ban, and also strict actions must be taken against them. The plastic waste, single-use plastics should be replaced by the organic, traditional resources alternatives, such as, in Jaintia we have this dopwai, dried leaves, then betel nut leaves. We can use that. The next one is waste management. Proper segregation and collection must be done. Government must support or fund in manufacturing of recycled products, and there should be a proper concrete technology to deal with the dumping site issue, because now we can see the issue with Martin. There's a lot of foul smelling near the area, and also in Jiwai, if you can see that there's no proper dumping place at all. So and I think most of the villages, they are not very keen to give a space to the government that you can come and dump in our place or something like that. So I think rather than shifting dumping sites from one place to another, there should be a concrete technology set up by experts to find solutions to this problem. The seventh point is traffic pollution. I think one of the team have already mentioned about it, but then what we want to say here is a proper checking of pollution certificates must be done, because you can see some of the vehicles, there's no proper checking. Vehicles, they are they just go, and you can see that they are emitting a lot of these black smoke, and also then the next one is legal and licensed factories. In our office, what we do is we give these environmental clearances to mining projects, but and there are certain conditions that they are supposed to adhere or also comply. But the problem arises here is that there is no close coordination between our office and the other offices who are monitoring it, especially like Dr. Baya has mentioned about green belt, and then other compliances like we can say about overburden, or we can talk about, maybe you can help me here. What are some of the air quality, pollution, So some of these conditions are not being complied by the project proponents, but the monitoring body, the other department, they are we don't have a close connection or a close understanding of the ground reality. So that should be there. And the next one is tourism boom. I think footfall and carbon footprints of tourists must be checked. We have to check the carrying capacity of the state as well. I mean, we can give the example of Nongriat Living Route Bridge. Earlier, what happened was we saw that there was no proper checking. So people would just go, and nobody was checking how many people were passing through the bridge. So now they realize that the bridge has become shaky. So they have to kind of check how many people are passing through and all. So taking that into context, I think the carrying capacity, the tourist carrying capacity of the state must be checked. And we would like to conclude with this, that these are the very direct suggestions, but we think that proper holistic, mental holistic shift must be there from an individualistic to from an individualistic culture to a community one. Proper awareness and counseling on how we all are responsible for environmental safeguard, and the me versus you concept must be abolished. Now we are just thinking, how do we climb up the corporate ladder or the career ladder, but nobody thinks about the community, what my brother who's sitting, who's staying next to my door, how they are progressing. And also, I think that collective evolution must be there. And we can take the example of Maulinong. Like Maulinong village is known as the cleanest village in Asia. And what we can learn from them is the village themselves, they have taught even the small kids that they are supposed to clean the village. So that culture, that kind of upbringing should be there, and it should be spreading out through the state. So yeah, so and because of the deep grassroots education of how each one of us is responsible for a better planet. So yeah, that's all from us. Thank you.
Okay, so from our team, these are, we have listed out some problems and solutions which are related to the issues which are related to the environment. And the first problem that we have listed is pollution. When we say pollution, it can be of two types. One is the air pollution and the other one is the water pollution. So the next one is overexploitation. The next problem is overexploitation. The first one is exploitation in terms of maybe deforestation and also making charcoal. Then that is one of the issues that we are facing in many of the districts in our state. And another one, exploitation, is overexploitation of the bioresources that we have here. We have example like fishes, medicinal plants, etc. There is so much of uncontrolled exploitation which we have, which is seen from blocks to blocks, like in the many blocks of Meghalaya. Like we have noticed that many of the people from outside, they are coming to our state to buy the medicinal plants. To us, those are those plants, it is of no use, but to someone outside, it is very much a precious one. So in that way, we are, the people living in those areas, they are say that they are not educated, they are not aware about the importance of that plants. Many of their our medicinal species are in the verge of being threatened. Another one of overexploitation is unscientific mining. Here we have limestone, coal, sand and soil, which you can.
Like when we talk about exploitation of resources like coal mining and all, like we focus only in this side of Jaida Hills or West Khasi Hills, but we never focus about the Ribhoi district where there is a earth cutting and stone quarry. We can see that a hill in Ribhoi district, in 1 month, you will see there will be no more hill as all the soil are being extracted and transported to Assam. And recently we have seen in news like even these NGOs and district administration are involved in this soil mining. And also the quarry, when we go to the Ribhoi side, if we go to this Pilankata, we go to Killing, you'll see so many of stone quarries over there. But these big businessmen are being had exploited all these quarry, and the government is not taking any initiative to regulate this mining. If they will take also, that is only when there is a media pressure. So the part will be explained by sir.
Okay. Hello. So we still continue with the problems which we face by our state. It's about unregulated coke factories in the state. So actually, the coke factories are very much prevalent in our state, which is one of the major factor. Even so many rules are being kept, but still it's still ongoing. So that is to be looked into it. And moreover, the plastic problems also is a major problem. Especially last time when we had so many from the department, we did this big event, Mission Life it is called. We are cleaning the water body, we are cleaning so many things, but those biodegradable stuff still we can clean, but the plastic problem is one of the main menace which you can see, which is accumulating in the water body. So the main example we can say the why pollution in us, especially in Shillong City, which is in our vicinity, the river Wamkra and river Umshurpi. The main problem we face is the direct discharge from the household. There are no proper waste disposal, which means like the direct discharge is directly to the water body, and We are still looking into the matter, like each and every household should have a proper wire mesh to be kept at the main outlet to the water body. Moreover, during this peak season where this is dry, the forest fire is very much prevalent. So it causes not only air pollution but also leads to the loss of many lives and even loss of biodiversity. Extraction of river sand from rivers. When we look into this, we can say it's a kind of a business now. Also, this river has been extracted. If you see in this in Tangar earlier, it was so clean. If we can keep our feet and see the what you call the stones within it, but now it's like melty. We can say. Moreover, uncontrolled water extraction. As we discussed just now, like we could see now, so many people they purchase this pickup trucks. No, I mean this single cabin trucks. Then out of that, the body was removed, and now they kept that the tanker behind the vehicle. So it becomes like a kind of a business oriented. It becomes commercial. 300 is the minimum rate for selling that. And it like if you need water by tomorrow, we have to call them 2 to 3 days back. So that becomes a business. So that also I think the government should look into, because water doesn't belong to a single user or to it's like a common man. Everyone is using it. So that also has to be taken into consideration. Littering at the public site, tourist spots. Let us take the example of the nearest place like Watts Lake. Whenever festivals are being events are there, mostly it is the common people who are like we can say our own people, like forest department can say our own masters are cleaning, but the tourists which comes, they don't have that civics and they just throw the garbage here and there without thinking of any whether it's a proper place to keep or not. Just not there. It's not their problem. So the lack of civic sense from the locals, even not we cannot blame the tourists. Also, even the locals also they have the lack of they didn't have the civic sense, and traffic problem. We should say we're not considering only of environment. Even a traffic problem we face most of the time. Like yesterday, I think just because of one headline, we are saying that this petrol tankers they will be strike. Everyone is panic about that, and everyone supposes it's emergency. Somebody is there, a fire. Like last time that jail road incident. That also. So
Recently, there was an incident in Jail Road wherein a fire broke in one of the buildings.
Yeah.
And because of the traffic and the congested road, what happened is there is so much loss in that property. It is not that far from the fire station to that place in PB. But because of this is one of the main problem that we are facing here in Shillong is traffic, and another one is too many vendors at the street. I don't know, maybe at one point of time, yes, from the administration, they would have given them the permission to sit there, especially in Laimukra area if you go. They would give them the permission to sit there, but now it's like they're extending it. Even if the government comes and chase them away from there, they will not even move a step from there. Because why? They say that this is my right. This is my livelihood. If I go from this place, even the government had given them, I think, a place to sit. But they say that, no, we are not earning as much as we are earning there. And if you happen to go to like Mukra, if you by mistake step on their belonging, you will get nicely from them. That is the scenario which we are facing there in Laimukra. So another one of the problem that we are facing here, which is one of the issue, is killing of fishes in our streams and rivers. One is by chemicals, one popular chemical which we are using here is tutia, we call. That is actually copper sulfate. Dr. Day? Copper sulfate, no, that tutia. People are using here. It is, I think, they are getting that from the market itself. They are using that, and many of the fishes are dead because of that. And another one is we have so many pesticidal plants that we can use for fishing. Just I think 2 to 3 months back, there was a headline in the news saying that a catfish, which is around 30 to 40 kgs, died in Umto River somewhere in a Ribohai area because of the use of these I think it's a pesticidal they use there. And proper disposal of e-waste which is required. So the solution for air pollution is regulation. Maybe we need some strict regulations from the government, especially for factories. We need more electric vehicle and more charging stations for them. Then encourage people to walk and use public transport. I think from the government, they have been doing their part. Just yesterday, in the headlines, they had given that anybody who wanted to use that STEM bus, they can use it for these office goers. That is one of the initiative, but I don't know how much it will be applicable for us. So, switch off engines at traffic points, use bicycles. Many of our administrative leaders, like Sir, yeah, he has been encouraging people to use bicycles to walk. He himself did the walking from to and fro from home to office, and he had encouraged people to do so. Then the solution for water problem is we should use less plastic. Instead of plastic, I think we have many resources, like we can use the banana leaves for packaging our foodstuffs, and even the arecanut sheets. We have lots of arecanut plants here in our state, but only very, very few people are taking that opportunity in making those arecanut plates, arecanut spoons, bowls, etc. Then wire mesh at the draining outlet, designated washing platforms at the rivers and streams, proper disposal of detergent packets, diapers, etc. Many of our water bodies are being polluted because of these, of the presence of these detergent packets. Proper disposal of medical waste and the waste that comes out from our slaughterhouses. We have so much of slaughterhouse there at Maulai area, but then I don't know what is the proper waste disposal that they are doing. Another one is for over-exploitation is plant more trees. Charcoal making should be regulated. We should have more scientific mining. Regulation of coke factories should be carried out with strict compliances of the law as notified by the government. And this one.
Hello. As we could see that the cement plants mostly in Gent Hills are the most creating problem for pollution, especially even not only air pollution, even that river Lukha is being affected because of the cement plant. So before setting up of any cement plants, I think it's better get a very good clearance, or that impact assessment plan should be done prior to, before going to the site or after going to the site, so that every cement plants which should be set up should be far away from the protected areas. Again, the most important one is here is the awareness program, awareness generation to the public. Especially most of them, they don't know much about, they, like what we say, some of them they care only for oneself, not for society and all. So in this awareness programs, we should not only have only awareness program. We should synthesize this public also. We should have a proper kind of interaction or participation, because only the government cannot walk with a single hand. It has to has both hands, I mean, from the public side and from the government side, so that everything can be they can work together for the benefit of all. And this regarding this forest fire, even there are committees which has to be set up, but even like what I said, public participation is very important. Sometimes even we cannot expect everything from the government. especially when we have less staffs and all. They cannot go everywhere. But if there's a kind of a committee or a kind of a public participation from the community side, they can look after the forest fire. They can douse the forest fire within the resources whatever they have. And this e-waste, like the proper disposal of e-waste. Recently, we have, I think now this e-waste problem is very prevalent, and they don't know where to keep or where to dispose of. But in Shillong, we have, as of now, I have two. I know two of them, and recently we have disposed two. I think from our department, we have disposed and collect and dispose of those e-waste to that center in Nongra. It's called Kamraf somehow. I have the details with me, but Andy is there if you want to. So that is also one of the biggest problem of e-waste, which many people just keep a pile of e-waste in their homes. So the main reason because they don't know. So when they get the knowledge to know, then they can dispose of. Even a certificate is being issued from that authority to the ones who dispose of and because they are authorized collection center, so I think they'll do their part. Not to be, we don't have to be after not like we just give to those Martin and just throw it. We are still concerned, but they are authorized people. I think it is their concern, so our part is done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again for participating actively. So I think we believe we've covered everything, almost all of the problems that overall Meghalaya is facing. I'd just like to conclude by just saying I think a lot of the solutions that we were talking about all comes down to compliance issues, right? Or just regulation issues. A lot of the, let it be factories or, stricter policies for exploitation over illegal or even legal mining, right? EIAs in the public transport someone spoke about. So all of them, even e-waste, so all of them boils down to either stricter policies or the policies that are in place, a better implementation of those policies, right? So that's what I understood and I took away from all of your fantastic presentations. The second one is, of course, education and awareness, one of the solutions, right? More aware that we would have better solutions or better management. And that also takes us up to the ownership, right? Be it the public ownership or the private ownership or even the government. So more awareness would also lead us to being, taking a better ownership of the resources of the environment that we have, right? And finally, I think we'll discuss this later on about ownership also takes into the IPR rights, which is the intellectual property rights. And someone spoke about, other states taking away things and stuff like that. So yeah, which we call it a GI tag. So it's also an important matter, right? So a lot of the economy is also based on that. So I thank you again for the participation, and hopefully we'll have something that in near future that we can actually see that something positives come out. Right? We'll sum it up shortly because
another thing, just a small thing. When we talk about stress, certain stress are actually boosting our economy as well. Let's say tourism for Meghalaya is very much important, but it is concentrated to only one part, right? So if we can channelize that, for that we need a little bit of more efforts in other sides, then maybe the stress that this tourism industry is putting on Shillong or Cherrapunji, it can be slowly, some parts of it can be channelized to other parts and it can be lowered in the capital. This is something we'll discuss in the post-lunch session, so I'm not going to elaborate. We'll have a lunch and we'll assemble after 1 hour.
2:30, yeah, 2:30 we can assemble again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.